Hi, everyone. This is Eric Molin, and this is Impact Presenting, podcast episode 11. In this edition, I'll speak with Leonardo Sempertegui, who's General Legal Counsel for the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, in Vienna, Austria. Leonardo and I got to know each other while I was doing some coaching projects for OPEC, and he's taken a few minutes out of his day to share a bit about what he's learned on his journey to becoming a more impactful public speaker, and has a few words of advice for other attorneys who have to get out there and present outside the courtroom in a business environment. So, good morning, Leonardo. Great that we could finally get this podcast together. We've been trying for a while.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Eric. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. I guess both of us have had a pretty turbulent year so far for 2020.
Absolutely. Anyway, let's hope it gets better for 2021.
I'm sure it will be. So really quick for our listeners, I'm Eric Molin, public speaking coach based out of Vienna, Austria, and owner and founder of Impact Presenting. And today I'm speaking with Leonardo Sempertegui, who is General Legal Counsel for the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. And perhaps, Leonardo, you could say a few words in introduction.
Hi, Eric. Thank you. As you said, my name is Leonardo Sempertegui. I am from Ecuador, a small country in Latin America. And about public speaking, which is the topic today, I have to say that I have a long relationship with it because my mom was a visionary. She thought that it was a good idea to get me involved in this thing early on. And I had a few classes here and there when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. Then when I was in high school, I was in the public speaking team. And so, then I went into law school, and obviously lawyers, we argue for a living. So we need to speak in public. Certainly, we don't do it as professionally or as prepared as we should, because we take care a lot of the content, but unfortunately, the delivery process is sometimes not good enough. And then in a world where communication is key, communication is almost everything. Well, I believe we could do much better in that field.
Yeah, what you just said, it's really true. It's true for a lot of specialities, people that they are experts in something that it's not really for the layman. And, as you said, as a lawyer, the vocabulary, the way that you say things, the content is very important. But out in the kind of coming out of the courtroom and into the business world, practicing your skills, the ability to formulate in a sense that everyone can understand what you're saying, it's really important. I guess that's the challenge for a lot of lawyers, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, eventually the objective is the same, because as we all know, when we speak in public or when we speak in general, we want to get something done, right? We have an action that we want to happen or to take place. When we speak in front of a judge, we want to convince him or her about our views and why they are right. In a way, there is some similarities regarding the business experiences and the business proposals, the business world in general. But we have to be very mindful of the differences. In the legal side, it might be very well regulated. Things can be rather black and white at a certain point. In the business world, things are much more fluid and many more elements are relevant. Politics are around, of course, economics, sensitivities of all kinds. Therefore, we have to be aware that the way we deliver our message might be much more important in the business world than it is in the legal environment.
Especially for people who may not understand the vocabulary or the sense of legal systems, you have to translate that for them in a way. Whereas a judge will already know what you're talking about. There's no special explanation necessary. He should know.
Absolutely. It's a completely different audience. And success of communication is getting your audience engaged, getting your audience with you. And if the audience is lost, then means that we as communicators are doing something wrong, and we need to change, because otherwise we're simply not going to get what we want from that audience.
So perhaps you could explain a little bit for the listeners, what were some of the key takeaways in our sessions together that you have found have been the most helpful in helping you transition to a more business-oriented presentation?
I can say that I have been speaking in public a lot and engaging with many stakeholders a lot around the energy transition subject, which is certainly something very important for everybody around the planet. And obviously, this is a subject that implies change. And we know that there is a natural resistance to change in human beings and in institutions, correct? So the call for action is absolutely crucial in these engagements. So if I would have to rescue one main takeaway from our conversations and our training session is that the call for action has to be absolutely clear, explicit, but also formulated in a way that can be it can be accomplished because in the energy transition discussion, many stakeholders have many different roles. So therefore, the message has to be precisely crafted to reach each of the audience targets that I have in each of the interactions. So such thing as a generic discourse does not exist. Obviously, preparation in the subject matter helps for a variety of actors, but the specificities, the subtleties of the call for action and other details around that are absolutely important. They have to be personalized, and that is something that it comes absolutely clear to me from our engagements, from our lessons, and also the fact that it's good to have a certain structure. It's good to have a clear idea of where things are going, and not just start dancing in circles without any purpose during the speak, which is unfortunately something that happens a lot. And also another one, just to stop there, is like that there is plenty of wisdom about the topic that one talks about already out there. So borrowing someone else's intelligence in a quote or in a reference, it is absolutely important to reinforce the validity of your message.
Right. So to add credibility to it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. We discussed that as well. the persuasion pyramid from Aristotle with the emotion, the logic, and the credibility. And
of course. Yeah,
you can give these logical arguments and people can say, yeah, that makes sense, but they won't necessarily take action. But then when you awaken their emotions, whether it's, pride or fear or enthusiasm, whatever it may be, that you can actually get done what you're asking for. And then that is, of course, if they believe you, which is the credibility.
Correct. And certainly a subject as the one that I am is usually speaking on, energy transition is something that really touches emotions of all the stakeholders. So the subject itself is emotionally loaded enough. So indeed, what we're trying to bring is logic and objectivity in the conversation and discussion, and of course, the credibility comes both from the organization and the professionals involved in the initiatives. So we're trying to bring that to the discourse. But of course, one cannot assume that the audience know these things. We have to be explicit about them and clear in the delivery when we engage with them.
And that brings us, that is the fourth step of my process, is that finish with first steps. And I think, as you said, there's a lot of speakers that they'll end and they won't really have given you the purpose for why you sat there to listen to them. But at the end, if you say, now this is what I need from you, you'll find audiences are very receptive to that because it justifies their investment of time and having listened to you, that you now have some clear vision for what comes next.
That to me is not only important for what you said, but it's also a sign of respect towards the audience, because nobody gets engaged in a meeting or in a presentation just for the sake of listening and understanding. Maybe sometimes you go just to get some new information to some research presentation, but that's not. I mean, when the business world,
not the high level presentations, exactly.
Correct. You don't go into high level business meeting or a diplomacy meeting to just gather some information. You want something to get done, and
Exactly.
it's important to be honest with your audience and tell them, I want this from you, and obviously I'm asking this for these reasons, 1, 2, 3, and this is the plan how things can be made. I mean, it's quite simple, and that is when we need to structure and above everything prepare. There is no such thing as improvisation in this matter. I remember 25 years ago in high school, in improvisation practices or competitions. Well, that was cool for that, but the stakes were very different. Today, the stakes, the things we handle are very important, and we have to prepare in consequence. We have to be aware of that.
So I know you're super busy, so we can go ahead and wrap up. But just before we finish, what key piece of advice would you give to some, let's say, some lawyers out there who are really good with knowing the law, but now they have to get out there in front of people who don't know the first thing about it, and they have to achieve their goals and get their initiatives out there? What key piece of advice would you give them?
One word will summarize, but I will explain it a bit if you allow me, Eric.
Yes.
The key is preparation, absolute preparation. 1 hour of public speaking might need 10 hours of preparation easily. And what I want to say with this is that both confidence and therefore reduction of anxiety comes from knowing the subject matter, because then you will be certain that you know about the subject more than almost anyone around in the room where you are presenting, and that will give lots of confidence to you as presenter. But in the other side, beyond an excellent content, you really need to work a lot in the delivery process. And first of all, smooth delivery, a clear delivery. I tend to add now in my presentations a quick index of what are the topics I'm going to cover, so everybody knows what to expect. Second, I believe that this idea that the American writing style has is very useful also for presenting. Let's go with the main point first. Then we cannot vary our main objective in the middle of paragraphs and in the middle of speaking and so on. No, let's go with the main ideas first. And then also be clear, as I said before, with the request for action, the call for action at the end. And in this world of digital presentations, I can give another element or another idea. Please keep it concise, keep it short, keep it focused. Please avoid the slides if possible, and if you need the slides, don't crowd them with text. And please request engagement from your audience, because there is nothing more terrible than speaking to a camera, reading a presentation for 60 minutes, and maybe nobody was listening to you. Maybe you were disconnected from the call.
They might not even have been there. Yeah,
exactly. And they didn't realize, and that will be a waste of time for you, for them.
So engage and make sure that they're there and make sure that they're listening. Okay.
Ask questions, get their reply, get their complaints. Everything is good for this purpose. There is no such thing as bad reply in this kind of context. So it takes practice.
Is good.
It takes practice, but certainly it can be achieved. It's a skill like any other, and it can be achieved.
Oh, great advice. Great advice. So know your subject, get the main point out there up front, engage your audience, and keep it short.
Yes, that's a great summary. And then when you realize that somebody's an expert, you gather the messages absolutely clear, and you presented far more than I did, probably, Eric. In this,
you give me too much credit, but thank you. So yeah, Leonardo, it was really great talking with you. Thanks so much for your time, and looking forward to the next chance to collaborate with you.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, Eric. Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this podcast, here's some of our other ones at soundcloud.com/impactpresenting, or on our website, www.impactpresenting.com, or our YouTube channel, Impact Presenting.